Let's add a window capture. Ooh. Give me 1 second here. We're gonna give you an extra cool little view of this. Oh no, go to the bottom. Oh no, oh no. Ah. Okay, technical specialness. All right, hey, so it is What the Wednesday. Now we're live. Okay, it is What the Wednesday, and thus everything is going crazy. But also, I happened to get my hands on a Glowforge last week because a person in the area was getting rid of this basic model. Now, the difference between the Glowforge is a desktop laser cutter, which is fantastic. It can do all kinds of materials. It can like cut wood and paper and plastic and cardboard and stuff, and it can etch glass and even metal if you do it the right way. You can also use it to make PCBs if you use it to etch off the resist and then use another process to etch the copper because it can't actually etch metal. But you can still make designs on anodized aluminum, for example, on laptops. I've stuck a laptop in a laser cutter before. It came out beautiful. It basically like interacts with the coating to turn it white. So whatever color your anodized aluminum is, it'll turn white under the laser. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is InstaGrahams. Because I decided last Wednesday that this was a great pun that needed to be done. Well, this is a stroopwafel. Here we go. This is an Instagram. And basically, this laser cutter came into my life the day after I thought of this terrible pun. And so, of course, I had to have it, and we had to make these. So I've got these portraits we've been making of my colleagues. Let's take a look at how it happens. This is what I was setting up a minute ago when everything was going bananas. I'm going to take the liberty of adjusting this a little bit while we go. But yeah, here, first up, is the way that my colleague Jessica's looked while it was going. As you can see, the laser cutter just like does this smooth as butter, and we can do it backwards, we can go forwards. It's fantastic. It comes out with this beautiful smell like s'mores. And so the others think that these don't seem like they'd be tasty to eat from the smell, but I kind of disagree. I think they smell amazing. And as someone who frequently prints with PLA, which kind of smells like maple syrup, I have to disagree. All right, here we go. Here's the other one. This is Maggie's face being etched onto the stroopwafel. Let's move that up a bit so we can actually see it. Yeah. Yeah, so these smell amazing while they're going, and in the end you end up with something that's pretty high res. Another cool thing I want to show you about it, though, is that you almost get a 3D effect because the setting that I have used, which all the settings and everything about how to do this is in the blog post that I've linked in the description of this video. Yeah, so what happens on these settings is that with the graham crackers you get a kind of 3D depth effect, and since usually the parts that are more in shadow are in fact the more recessed parts of your image, it comes out looking really cool. I mean, the hair is going to be a little weird, but like, yeah, it almost sort of looks like a real 3D portrait, which is really neat, and I am going crazy because these smell so good. Here's the original test I did, actually. These are actually Instagram photos from my Instagram feed because I figured that that should be what we start with. And so this is the Mr. Robot badge done by Brian Benchoff, and as you can see, there's really nice detail on here. It's got somebody's fingers holding it, and these little lines. You can even see where some of the circuit board traces are up around here. And then also this was my first try at an actual portrait. You can see pretty fine detail, but I decided that going a little deeper would get better contrast, and that's true. I also did a lot more tweaking on the later photos so that they're a lot darker for one thing, and they also have greater contrast. So I've got tips for all of that in the blog post, as mentioned before. If you have a laser cutter... Oh, very important notes. I followed the Glowforge instructions to a certain amount. I didn't do the projects that they suggest doing first because I've used a laser cutter before. But and I already had nefarious plans. But it's very important that if you've cut other materials in the laser cutter before, don't do food, because it can leave residue inside of the machine. More specifically, the other materials can leave residue inside the machine that would be toxic. So whether or not you think these are appetizing, if you've used something else in there before, they may be toxic, which is not appetizing. The other thing is that, oh yeah, I put it on top of a paper towel inside the bed of the laser cutter, and that's for a couple of reasons. Well, actually, the main reason is just to protect the food from the metal honeycomb, which, you know, it came straight from the factory. It hasn't been used before, but it's possible that it has some kind of a coating on it or whatever that wouldn't want to get on the food. And also, I noticed that when I did that, I had a single graham cracker on top of it, and that didn't weigh it down very well, so it got blown around a little bit by the vent, which is bad because that means that you get like these artifacts where it doesn't quite line up because it was sort of moved around and tilted. These are not very high quality graham crackers, and they're kind of like getting stale and soggy as we speak. It's kind of humid here. But, so I just taped down the paper towel to the bed with masking tape, which doesn't stick super great, but I also put a couple extra graham crackers on to sort of weigh it down, and that worked great. So, I hope that this inspires other people. Someone, Alessandra, my colleague, commented that this would be a great gift for weddings. So if you have two people who are getting married, you know, you can make these as party favors or whatever. If you're making like sundaes or s'mores or whatever, it's a great way to jazz them up. There are some issues with alignment, actually. You can't tell so much on these, but I tried to etch the Hackster logo on top of a cookie that already has the Hackster logo printed on it, and it didn't work super great because it was misaligned, even though I did it properly in the interface. And maybe that has to do with the fact of like what material it thinks it is and what material it actually is, which is cookie, which is not a Glowforge approved material, so it doesn't know the thickness of it or anything. Yeah, that's InstaGrahams. Go check out the blog post. Thanks.